Nobody warned Samuel Reed what came with buying land for pocket change in the New Mexico territory. But when he walked to the creek that first evening and saw 3 pairs of eyes staring back at him from the water, he realized $75 had bought him far more than property. It had purchased a reckoning he never saw coming. When Samuel Reed rode into the dusty settlement of Red Rock Springs, he carried nothing but a battered saddlebag, a Colt revolver with a loose cylinder, and $75 earned breaking wild horses across 3 territories. He was a man without family or future, wandering from town to town until the afternoon he spotted a handwritten notice tacked to the wall outside the territorial office. Homestead for sale, $75. Previous owner deceased. Property reverts to county. Samuel had never owned more than the clothes on his back and the horse beneath him. Yet something stirred in his chest at the thought of finally claiming a place as his own. A homestead, even a dilapidated one, meant a roof that belonged to him, earth that carried his name, and perhaps an end to the gnawing loneliness that had shadowed him for years. He walked into the land office, counted out the wrinkled bills, and emerged the bewildered owner of property he'd never laid eyes on. The trail northwest was rugged, but Samuel barely noticed. His mare carried him through rolling grassland until twilight revealed weathered structures on the horizon, a sagging barn, broken fencing, and a small cabin that leaned like it had lost the will to stand straight. It wasn't much, but it was his. He dismounted and walked the perimeter, already envisioning where cattle might graze, where vegetables could grow, where the sound of his hammer could breathe life into rotted wood. As he approached the creek cutting through the western edge of the property, he stopped abruptly. Ripples disturbed the water's surface, followed by voices, melodic, lilting, and definitely not English. He crept closer, careful not to snap twigs underfoot until he reached the bank. What he witnessed froze him solid. 3 young Navajo women stood waist-deep in the creek, their long ebony hair streaming wet across bare shoulders. Their startled eyes locked with his, and for a heartbeat, nobody moved. They weren't spirits or tricks of fading light. They were flesh and blood, very much alive, and very much here. Samuel raised both hands slowly, palms forward, but the women pressed together protectively, arms crossed over their chests, stares mixing equal parts fear and fury. One spoke urgently to the others in their language, then fixed Samuel with a gaze fierce enough to scorch leather. "I didn't mean to startle you," Samuel said carefully, though his words felt inadequate. "This is my land now. I bought it in town today." The women exchanged glances before one answered in halting English, "Not your land. Our home, long before paper, long before town." Her voice trembled, but her eyes held steady. Samuel lowered himself onto a fallen log, trying to appear less threatening. "I don't want trouble. I just need a place to stop running. If you've been here all along, maybe we can figure something out together." The eldest, a woman with intricate beadwork woven through her hair, stepped forward. "This land belonged to our family before soldiers came, before taxes, before men sold what they never owned. We stayed when others fled, hidden, waiting." Her words carried the weight of histories Samuel could barely comprehend. He looked around at the homestead, the buildings, fences, cleared earth now reclaimed by weeds. To him it was a bargain. To them it was blood and memory. "I can't undo the past," Samuel said heavily, "but I didn't come here to steal from anyone." "Maybe there's room enough for all of us." The women studied him silently, creek water murmuring between them. Finally, the youngest tilted her head. "Why you here, cowboy? Why buy land alone?" Samuel swallowed hard. "Because I'm bone-tired of drifting. A man can ride forever and never find a place that feels like home. I thought maybe this could be it." Their suspicion didn't vanish, but their expressions softened fractionally. Samuel understood the night ahead wouldn't bring easy rest. This homestead carried burdens heavier than he'd imagined. His $75 had purchased more than acreage. It had entangled him with three strangers whose stories were now woven with his own. As darkness fell and coyotes sang in the distance, Samuel knew one certainty. He hadn't just bought a homestead. He'd stumbled into a trial of trust and survival that no deed of ownership could resolve. But the real shock came the next morning when he discovered what they'd been hiding. That first night, Samuel slept lightly, revolver within reach, ears tuned to every sound. The women had disappeared into the land's shadows, but he sensed their presence like watchful ghosts. Wind moaned through the cabin's gaps, and in the darkness he questioned whether he'd made the greatest mistake of his life. Yet the promise of belonging kept him rooted where wiser men might have fled. Dawn brought unexpected clarity. He stepped outside to find the eldest woman, the one with beaded hair, standing near his cabin, arms folded, watching. Her sisters tended a small fire yards away, roasting corn and rabbit, the aroma drifting through cool morning air. "You stayed," Samuel said, half disbelieving. She gave a curt nod. "We do not run." "This remains our place." He approached cautiously. "Then maybe we should talk proper. I'm Samuel Reed. Most folks call me Sam." After a pause, she replied, "I am Dezba. These are my sisters, Ayasha and Sani." The younger women glanced at him briefly before returning to their food. Days settled into fragile routine. Samuel worked repairing fences, patching barn roof holes, clearing weeds from overgrown pasture. The women moved freely across the land, foraging near the creek, gathering medicinal plants, vanishing into the forest, only to return with full baskets. They spoke little, but their watchful eyes tracked his every move. What began as wariness gradually transformed into unspoken acknowledgement that neither side could force the other away. One evening, as firelight danced under stars, Dezba finally sat across from him. Her expression remained guarded, but her voice demanded full attention. "You speak of sharing, but how?" "You build fences, fix barns. We need no cattle or nails. We need freedom." Samuel leaned forward. "And what do you fear most? That I'll bring soldiers?" Her dark eyes didn't flinch. "Yes." He exhaled slowly. "I can't change what happened before. Can't erase what men in uniform did. But this land's wide enough for all of us. You live how you choose. I'll do the same. Nobody needs to own what the earth gives freely." For the first time, her expression softened slightly. Sani, the youngest, spoke in careful English. "If you stay, you protect too. Raiders come sometimes. Men with guns. They take food. Take more. You fight?" Samuel's jaw tightened. He'd seen lawless men who preyed on the vulnerable. "If they come here, they'll find more than they bargained for." That vow shifted something among them. Ayasha, the quietest, handed him roasted rabbit. "Eat," she said simply. It was the first gesture of acceptance, and Samuel took it gratefully. What Samuel didn't know was that the real test was riding toward them on the horizon. Weeks passed, carving new patterns. He mended corrals while the sisters taught him which plants healed wounds and which poisoned water. He showed them how to sharpen blades on whetstone while they taught him forest silence. Different worlds stitched together by necessity. Yet, in that unlikely union, Samuel felt belonging's first stirrings. But belonging never comes without trial. One gray afternoon, dust rose on the horizon. Riders, 5 of them, hard men with rifles across their backs. Samuel recognized the type, drifters who lived by taking. They reined up at the property's edge, eyes sweeping hungrily across the land. "You the new owner?" their leader called, spitting tobacco into dirt. Samuel stepped forward, revolver at his side. "I am." The man's grin was wide and cruel. "Word is you got more here than cattle. Heard tell of Navajo squaws on this land. We'll take our share." Before Samuel could respond, Dezba appeared beside him, chin high, defiance blazing. The men's eyes crawled over her, and something hot and dangerous coiled in Samuel's gut. "You'll take nothing," he said, voice low but steel hard. The standoff lasted seconds before the first hand twitched toward a rifle. Samuel moved faster. His gun barked once, twice. The leader staggered and chaos erupted. The sisters vanished into cover as arrows whistled from trees. Samuel fired until his cylinder clicked empty. Within minutes, the raiders fled, leaving dust and blood. When silence returned, Samuel lowered his smoking revolver, chest heaving. Dezba stepped forward, placing a steady hand on his arm. "You fought with us. Now you are bound to us." The weight of her words struck deeper than bullets. For the first time in years, Samuel felt he wasn't drifting alone. He'd bought land with $75, but what he truly gained was a place where his loyalty mattered, where the lonely trail finally ended. As stars spread across the frontier sky, Samuel understood his story with the 3 Navajo women had only begun, and whatever came next, he would face it not as a drifter, but as a man who'd finally found his home.